We the People, episode 3. What does it mean to you to be an American?
Gosh, I don't know.
Sure, well, I would say liberty and freedom for all men. I think the Declaration of Independence sums it up pretty good.
What does it mean to you to be an American?
Not judging people based on the fact that they may have a difference in opinion.
Well, I mean, don't gotta be rude. Say something. Typical. We're back. Episode 3. We the People. We're gonna hit the streets of Encinitas. We're downtown this week, and we'll see what people are saying about what it means to be an American. You excited? I'm excited. I don't know what's gonna happen. Let's go. Do you mind if I ask you questions about what it means to be an American? All right. Who wants to talk? Nobody. Well, this is getting awkward. I don't know what to do.
It means absolute freedom regardless of your beliefs, right?
Yes.
I mean, it doesn't matter what political party you are, what race you are, you have the freedom to express yourself,
Yes.
and everybody should value that.
How do we preserve that root?
That's a tough one because I think it really comes down to family values, and it comes down to choosing to be positive and having a good attitude and surrounding yourself with positive people, and instead of looking at the negative, think about the goodness of this country.
Do you think this is a Christian nation?
I do believe it's a Christian nation.
Do you know how many of the founding fathers were Christians?
I'm pretty sure a majority of them were.
Yeah, they were. Do you think that it's possible for this nation to come together, to bridge the left and the right, so we can have some kind of united force going forward?
I think it's possible, but I think people have to put down their defensive mechanisms and they have to want to speak with one another and realize that everybody's entitled to their opinion and not judging people based on the fact that they may have a difference in opinion.
Having the freedom to do some things here. I mean, obviously it's a little tainted right now with the COVID protocols. I'm from LA, so it's a little bit more restricted up there than down here, but still love being an American.
What do you think separates America from other nations?
Oh, Jesus. The right to vote. I mean, obviously some of the media stuff that we see portrays other countries a little differently than what.
So you'd mentioned the right to vote in Brazil and Venezuela and France. They all have the right to vote.
Okay, nice. That's also great. Yeah, like I said, man, I mean, I'm pretty mind boggled down here in America.
With the statement of having the right to vote, do we realize that there's more than just the right to vote to be an American?
It's a Monday morning. You're first person I talked to so far today, so mine's a little rusty.
All right, Zach, so what I'm trying to, I guess, portray or convey to viewers is helping us realize the responsibility of being an American is standing up against a corrupt government. Because in Venezuela, Brazil, and France, they have a corrupt government, but they don't have citizenship over the government. So the way that the Constitution was established is that you have God, citizen, government in America. And it's the only country in the world that has the citizen with more authority than the government, because our rights come from God, and then we give the government a little bit of responsibility over us, but it's temporary. Many of us don't realize that, though. You're in LA. Do you feel like there's anything you can do in LA as a citizen to open up that county?
Just continue to vote.
So if you were to mobilize citizens, then those citizens are capable of taking back your freedom and liberty in LA County, even LA County. So if you were to get 100, 200, 1,000 citizens that were to rise up to say, we're not okay with this tyranny, then the government is forced to listen to you. And if they don't, you can recall them too.
Sounds great.
Care about others.
How do you define caring about others?
Jeez, dude.
What does the statement, we the people, mean to you?
This is really hard. People. People.
We the people? Once again, we're all caring about each other together.
Are either of you informed of the U.S. Constitution?
No. Honestly, no.
Ironically, I did take a U.S. Constitution class in college, but it was one of those classes that I just, skated by.
Are either of you fed up with some of these emergency orders that are taking place in the United States, in California, or San Diego County?
I feel like my question would just be, where do you draw a line? Because like obviously at some point a line does have to be drawn, but it's like, when can you draw that line, and what quantifies you to draw that line?
Second thought.
So who draws the line?
Should be the people.
That's the people. We the people.
Let's say you want to draw a line in the sand as the people. What steps would you take to make that happen?
Not filtering media.
Speechless.
If you don't know what your rights are, then you can't assert them. And government naturally, in the course of human history, will always take more power. Every single society in the history of time, the government will take more power. But what the United States Constitution did was it gave citizens the authority to hold them back. So if we, the citizens, know our rights, we can say, no, man, you're infringing on my rights. You need to back up. Do you think that the United States was founded as a Christian nation?
I don't think it was founded on that.
I'm going to read you a quote. Thomas Jefferson, who is the signer of the Declaration of Independence, as well as the third president of the United States, said, "The doctrines of Jesus are simple and tend all to the happiness of man. I am a real Christian, that is to say, a disciple of the doctrines of Jesus Christ." What do you think about that?
I'm not a religious person, man, so I don't.
What does it mean to you to be an American?
Gosh, I don't know.
Did you say that you're a Canadian?
I am Canadian, yeah.
Oh, Canada, the country we hold dear.
Okay, so with the U.S. Constitution, I'm not familiar with the Canadian Constitution. There's God, citizen, government. Is it established the same way in Canada?
You know what? I haven't thought about this in
That's okay.
in 15 years.
So how does a citizen preserve their rights?
I mean, that's a complex question. I mean, your rights are inherent in each person and their existence, right? But I think that's a good question. I mean, you don't have they exist by fact of you existing, right? Like your rights do. So I think obviously voting is really important, and I think political activism is really important. Obviously, peaceful protest is extremely important.
Why is it that we believe people are tense on this idea or that idea?
Well, I think it's just distortion by. Well, I mean, it's the media, right? I think the media needs to sell papers. I think there is distortion by the media, and I mean, obviously, to win votes, people play into a lot of. It's been a very divisive time in America, which has been upsetting to watch and be a part of and be here for. I think it's media distortion, certainly in terms of if you look at all the stuff on like YouTube and like people that were like flat Earth believers being funneled into like there's technology and algorithm that's involved in it as well that exacerbate the distortion. So I think media education as well, and education more broadly is a really important part of preventing some of that. Yeah, improving it. Yeah.
Would you like to tell us what you think about the U.S. Constitution? Do you know what it means to be an American? Do you have any comments that you'd like to make? What does it mean to be an American? What does we the people mean to you? Tough crowd. Tough crowd.
Well, I'm kind of curious. Why are you interested in morality?
Well, because the men who established the Constitution, they believed that only a moral citizenry would be able to self-govern.
Oh.
What does it mean to be an American?
Okay. Sure. Well, I would say liberty and freedom for all men. I think the Declaration of Independence sums it up pretty good. You know.
I love that.
It says we're all endowed by our Creator with the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So, I don't know that I can say it better than Thomas Jefferson.
Wow, that's amazing. So
my answer.
that's an incredible answer, and I wholly agree with you. And it seems that you know American history.
Yep. Yeah.
So what does the statement "we the people" mean to you?
So I would say the statement "we the people" means that our government finds its moral authority to govern and rule from the collectivism of the people of our country. So I think we have to not let people tell us that people don't want to listen anymore. Because I think that actually people do want to listen. They do want to have those important conversations. I think there's a group of people that try to push this message on us that people won't listen.
When you say speak truth, how do we know what truth is?
So I'm a Christian, so I would believe that the Bible defines truth. I would say that though through the course of history, I think if you read like C.S. Lewis, he talks about the Tao. There's this seated moral compass within us as humans. Whatever your activist position is, wherever somebody lands, the minute you acknowledge something's not right, you're acknowledging there is a moral truth that you're basing that on.
So when government is acting improperly, and you mentioned overthrowing or tossing off the chains of bondage from government, what does that look like, and how does a moral citizenry do so?
Throughout the history of our nation, whether it was in the Revolution, whether it was the Civil War, whether it was through segregation, there have been people who refuse to comply with unjust laws and unjust mandates. And I do believe it's our duty as citizens to refuse compliance. So we may not seek an aggressive posture, but in refusing to comply with an unjust law, that is an appropriate position to take. I've had people saying to me who would land in different positions politically, but who are scared about what they see going on. But they keep saying to me, I wish everybody would just go along, because then it would all be over. And that's when I say to them, that's why you have to be a student of history. It's never over when you just go along. This is why you have to study history. It never ends with compliance with unjust laws. So,
How do we preserve that freedom?
By not believing everything the media says, for once, actually thinking, analyzing everything, trying to see connections, trying to see who benefits and who loses from everything, just, a little bit of everything.
How do we not get controlled by the media?
Question everything, and if you see all, like, the mainstream just saying one thing, just think, who's paying them, just basically, just look who gives them their paychecks, and then you might start to see a pattern, and there's definitely something wrong there if they're trying to silence the opposition too, If you don't like something, say it, and if they're not allowing you to say it, then something's wrong there, for starters. Yeah.
Is America a Christian, or was America a Christian nation when it was founded?
Yes, it's a little bit of a complicated question. They did try to keep religion and state separate for a little bit of it, but it is based on Christian ideals and morals.
When you said the separation of church and state, where is that at?
I do not remember that, to be honest.
Is
I would
it
be lying if I was like, oh, it's in here, but
is it in the Constitution, Declaration of Independence, the Federalist Papers?
I don't remember, to be honest.
It's not.
Yeah, okay.
So they created the statement separation of church and state around the third president, Thomas Jefferson, or I think established. He wrote a letter to a pastor, and when the pastor was concerned about his religious freedom, he said, "Don't worry. There's no concern. There is a brick wall between the state and government. There is a separation of church and state. So you will be a free person." And they used that document in 1962 and have been doing this, like you're talking about, with these corporations and these ideologues. They've been manipulating the truth to take power. And they've done it by taking God out of our government. How do we oppose it? How do we fight back as American citizens?
I want to see voting, but yeah, just like voting, making sure your voice is heard, different ways. You might want to protest. You might want to just, if they're promoting something, show you don't support it, just things like that.
Yeah, and as well as, if I might say, it's knowing our rights. Yeah. If we know our constitutional rights, if we know our federal rights that are through federal statutes, and then we can assert them to police officers, to judges, to attorneys, because we have authority that we've been given from God, and it's been established. It's a contract that's established. But if we don't know those rights, we can't assert them. Yeah. And so we must. Our duty is to assert these rights.
Correct.
Yeah. All right. All right, there we go. Episode 3 is in the books. I hope this episode left you feeling encouraged. We learned a lot about Encinitas. There's some really intelligent people here, as well as those typicals who don't know much about their rights. But thanks for checking in to episode 3. Tune in next week for episode 4. Later. Whatever that is, we're doing this.